First up is a game that many of you have told me was a lot harder than you were expecting, and you were right. And I only got to play this game from completing another hard challenge where I earned the right to pick it. And it was nothing like I expected. It's Control, the Ultimate Edition on the PS5. Now, for those of you who don't know, this game was made by Remedy, the same people who made Alan Wake, Max Payne, games that love to mess with your freaking mind. I did not realize that Control is a freaking open world game. You have free reign to roam around, do side missions, find collectibles, level up your character, all those sorts of things that you would find in a game like Grand Theft Auto. Just way more claustrophobic and without having an awesome radio station to keep you entertained while you're doing it. It has some slight Metroidvania elements where, as you gain new items and abilities, you can go back to previous areas and unlock other items and new routes through it that were previously inaccessible. Remedy does some of the best presentation on their games I've ever seen. They have some really memorable set pieces, and this game looks gorgeous. It plays really well, but just the world they built was so amazing. And coupled with that is this fantastic art direction and great level design. It's all incredible. But the sound design that goes along with it just blew me out of the water. You play as Jessie, who has had supernatural powers since she was a young girl, and she knows that reality isn't exactly what it seems. And she's looking for her missing brother, who was taken away by a secret government agency called the Bureau of Control. Jessie infiltrates their base and discovers that it's being invaded by a other dimensional, species, I guess, called the Hiss. And the whole game takes place in the Department of Control, which, like I said, is a huge government building with an incredible, mid-century modern design that's mixed with hyper sci-fi. It's very cool. But trust me, I've never seen anything like this in a game, and I was very impressed by what they came up with. Another interesting aspect of Remedy games is they mix in live action videos into their games. So if there's a cutscene or something, or someone talking in the game, it's usually an actor actually performing like they would be in a movie or in a theater production, and then they just superimpose it into the game. And I love that. Even with the modern technological advances that we have in facial capture and mouth movement recognition, you're still not going to capture everything that an actor does with their facial expressions. And so inserting live action stuff into the game can really add some verve and flair to it that you wouldn't find in a normal game. But you discover early on in the game that certain items out in the world hold these supernatural abilities. So something like a light switch that was found in someone's home, when they pull the light switch, it teleports them to another dimension. So the Federal Bureau of Control comes, they investigate, they take the light switch, they bring it back to their big government facility, and then they start utilizing it to help fight their fight against these supernatural entities that are all over the world. There are all these things throughout the building. They're constantly in this struggle with the Bureau itself over being in control or being let on the loose, right? So whole sections of the government building will be sealed off because a freaking refrigerator that was essentially possessed went on a rampage in there, and you've got to go stop the refrigerator. And I'm making these up because I don't want to spoil anything. Or there's an air conditioning unit that turns all of the floors into slime. Sort of weird stuff like that. And they come up with a lot of really interesting ideas that really change up the gameplay a lot throughout the experience. And I don't really see that often in very many open world games. They're usually pretty one note. You're just kind of going from place to place and doing the same thing over and over again. And there is a little bit of that in Control, for sure. There are these timed containment missions where certain areas of the facility will get overtaken by the Hiss, and you have to stop what you're doing, which I don't like doing. Of course, I don't like doing it. I'm in the middle of a cool adventure. Now I have to stop and go over here and fight a bunch of random bad guys that I fought a million times to stop the containment outbreak or whatever. You can totally ignore it, but the game is real clear about annoying you into doing it. One of the big downfalls of that also is that sometimes there will be a containment outbreak in an area of the game you haven't even unlocked yet. Like I said, it's a freaking Metroidvania. So some of these containment missions, hell, you can't even get to that part of the map yet. And they're like, you have 22 minutes to get over there. Annoying, that's so annoying. But in general, those side missions and things, after you do a certain number of them, enough to like get the upgrades you need from it, you can ignore them. You don't have to worry about it. As you start finding these like magical items, for lack of a better term, you get super overpowered. Your freaking handgun becomes a shotgun and a sniper rifle and a machine gun. You can use telekinesis to grab giant things like freaking cars and up to 3 of them at a time and hurl them at people and just one-shot almost every basic enemy in the game. You can suck the floor up off the ground and have it spin around you like a shield before having it cascade out like a freaking scatter bomb and take out a whole wall of enemies. You can even freaking levitate and semi-fly around. You become very, 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 very powerful, yet you're never so overpowered that the game ceases being challenging. And I feel like it's pretty challenging. I would die regularly in this game, and I had a lot of people in the video where I did the challenge to get to play this game tell me that they really struggled with it. And according to the trophies for beating the game, not as many people finished this game as you would think for a game that was nominated for Game of the Year. I liked the spirit of this game. I love the idea of it. I like the voice acting. I love the world. But just running around the freaking Bureau of Control building, as unique as it is, it gets kind of boring and samey after a while. You do run through the same areas over and over again. You fight the same ambushes over and over again. It gets tedious, and the combat, to me, felt really tedious. I never really got into it, and as I was running around, the combat felt like more of a deterrent from enjoying the game rather than something that built the game up. I was always trying to avoid combat to get on to the next cool story mission or the next cool side mission or finding the next cool collectible that fills in on this, extremely unique and zany world. But there are some really cool set pieces in this game. I'm not going to tell you what's going on in the footage you're seeing here, but the game is full of all kinds of really cool stuff like this that make it stand out. These unique, different little sections of the game that inject so much, difference into it. That's the best way to put it. It just subverts your expectations, and I love that. I was surprised that it was an open world game, and to tell you the truth, I wish that it had been more linear. I wish they had focused more on the story and, like I said, these set pieces in this world and this environment, rather than focusing on a bunch of like busy work and side missions and things like that, because the story is what's interesting and the world is what's interesting. Running around and doing fetch quests is not interesting. Nobody has ever thought that. It takes putting you in a unique and unfamiliar situation and it makes it familiar. And that's the big downfall of Control. There was this dichotomy there between different sections of this game. The big story missions, incredible. The in-between stuff, not so much fun. So I almost 100%ed Control. There are just a couple little trophies I missed that would have taken hours and hours and hours of grinding, but I would say I 99%ed Control. I think it was a great experience. I would highly recommend it. I would give it an 8 out of 10. It is absolutely great.